This presentation is going to introduce you to the basics of open science, really what open science is all about, and give a bit of a preface so we can use this as a platform to scaffold later discussions about what it entails in practice and ways that you can make your practices, in your research practices, more open. So what is open science? Open science is a broad label and it reflects a really wide array of practices and principles that we want to try and exemplify and maximize in our research in the modern era. Really, these at their base have some common objectives, and that's to maximize things like transparency, reproducibility of our analyses and our reports, replicability of our results, improve our impact in the world, increase our equity of our research, and overall, I think broadly we can construe all these things as different ways of improving the quality of our research. So when we talk about open science, this isn't just something that happens at one stage in our research process. As per this diagram, which I have borrowed from the National Science Foundation, these open science elements exist all the way through our investigation process, from our hypothesis generation and design through data collection, analysis, publication, and subsequent reviews, and so on. So it's important to think about this not as just one thing, even though there are some very large and prevalent and salient elements like data sharing. This idea of open science should infuse all elements of our modern research process. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what these might be, what reflections of what these open science practices might be in your research practice now. I'm not going to belabor the point too much here, but these practices are quite diverse, and we're just going to give a touch on what these are now, and then in later videos we'll have a chat about specific elements of these practices and how you can implement them. So when we're talking about open science, this might include things like pre-registration of your studies, sharing of your materials, so you can have full insight into how your studies were conducted, use of open source software to ensure that everyone can access your analysis and everyone can conduct your analysis in the same way, providing access to your data so others can do secondary analysis on your data and make sure that you haven't done anything dubious. Similarly, open code, making sure that your data processing and analysis scripts are all transparent and available for others. Open publication or open access, making sure that everyone can read your papers, not just the people that are at an institution that can afford to pay the subscription fees. Open reviews, providing insight into who is making these criticisms of our papers and therefore making ourselves accountable to the things that we say about and the ways that we influence papers that we review. And many others, including participatory activities involving many labs or multiple labs, sharing of educational resources, and getting the public involved in our research, not just as participants, but potentially as collaborators, and engaging with not only each other, but with the public on social media. Hopefully that gives you some insights into what open science is. Here are some readings if you're interested in looking up some more information about open science, but otherwise we will follow this up with some more targeted modules looking at particular elements of these open science practices and how you can implement them in your own research.